Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, welcome back to the show. The haze of the preseason is very slowly lifting. We've gotten through all of our power conferences. We've got 2 teams left that we're going to talk about at the end of this episode. We've also got some news hot off the presses that we need to get into today, my good friend.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm great. I was at a party, brag much, Friday night. Solo, Jody with and I was out of town. And as per usual, my friends who are there, the dads in the neighborhood, in the area, you got a Wisconsin fan, you got a Notre Dame fan, a lot of Big Ten represented. We had some SEC, we had some West Coast people. They like, ooh, season's come around the corner. You're getting busy, right? You're in the thick of it, probably, right? You're getting ready. And I tell each of them, I say yes. And also, if you have any questions, this is as prepared as I'm ever going to be. So if you want to download some Michigan State knowledge, whatever I have in my brain, maybe as limited as it is, if you want to download any sort of Arkansas knowledge or Tennessee, if you need to extract that from me or just my opinions about what Oregon State's going to look like or TCU's going to look like, now's the time. And people took advantage. It was a lot of like, Indiana, Illinois, what do you think? And I was like, funny you mentioned that. They are kind of competing for that. Like, all right, who's after Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and whoever might compete? It might be Illinois, Indiana. And they're playing. It should be fun. And they look at me and they say, oh, okay, cool. That's it.
I find I have to throttle it back in conversations like that.
Yeah. I didn't like deep dive.
I've had friends and neighbors asking me about these types of things as well. And it's hard to like pull back and not dive into full deep dive mode,
right,
where we're talking about too deeps and strengths and weaknesses and reasons to be entertained and stuff like that.
You want to talk about Justice Haynes? We can do that. We can, as long as you want to do that, we can do that. So that was fun. That was good. So here we are.
Awesome. Well, welcome back in, one and all. Thank you for stopping on by. I've got a lot of new people.
Yes.
Who have been tuning in over the last few weeks. We appreciate having you with us. I am Ty. He is Dan. This is a Solid Verbal. If you have yet to do so, please hit the follow or the subscribe button. If you can, if you're ever so inclined, believe me when I say that it helps so very much to leave a comment wherever you can, to rate the show, to leave a positive, preferably, review for the show.
Yeah.
Tell your friends about the show. We have been growing like a weed here in this early part of the new season. We would love to have more under the big tent.
Yeah, of course. We need you. I'm not going to make any bones about this. We need you in here. You don't need to support the fat cats in the mainstream media.
Nope.
This is just This is Ty and I grinding here.
That's what this is. Of course, you can go on out to verballers.com if you want more information on how you can directly support what Dan and I do. There are a couple interesting announcements, and then we're going to get into the actual content for this show.
Yeah.
But
Ty and me, Ty and I. Ty and me. I think we were the objects there. Continue. Couple big announcements. Here it is.
First and foremost, the prediction special drops on Sunday morning for the public, on Saturday morning for the folks that subscribe out on Patreon. All right, so this is where we do our previews. This is also where we want to get predictions from the Verballerhood. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a question shortly out on our Patreon feed at verballers.com. Everybody who subscribes, whether you're paid or free, you're going to see a question come through. I want your predictions, and I'm going to pick out some of our favorites for that episode that's going to drop on Sunday. Otherwise, you can also reach out on the Reverb line, which I'm going to open up for the first time all season long. The number is 855-VERBAL-3. I will craft a special Reverbs edition that we're going to drop on that prediction special on Sunday. So call in, limit it to one prediction, please. Just one. There's a lot of these that I'm going to have to go through. But
of course.
Leave one prediction, your hottest take.
Your crown jewel.
Your crown jewel, the thing you feel best about.
Not a hot take.
Not a take.
Prediction.
Leave it on the Reverb line or out on Patreon. Again, you can sign up for free if you're not willing to fully commit yet and go all in on a paid tier or anything like that. That's going to drop on Sunday. We'll have some other goodies along the way. Again, episodes drop for you, kind Verballer, every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 5 a.m. Eastern time. Man. If you're a Patreon subscriber, if you don't want the ads, the bonus content, all that stuff, you can get it a little bit early, a day early, to be clear, by going out to verballers.com. But that's coming. We're working on some new merch right now. I'm spinning up our Run the Board Pick'em game. There's also going to be a preseason poll for members of our Patreon. Verballers.com. Again, if you want more intel on how you can vote in that, we'll be spinning that up probably at some point early next week.
And Ty's charity mobile massage truck is going to be making its rounds. He is deeply caring, nimble with his thumbs in a way that you wouldn't predict. That's all I have in terms of housekeeping. Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
Let's get into news, Dan. We do have quite literally breaking news.
There it is, mid-season form.
Quite literally right before we hit record on this episode.
Yeah.
The first AP poll of the new season dropped. It is the first time ever that Texas is number one in one of these preseason AP polls. Now, we saw a coach's poll drop a short while earlier, but of course, the AP poll is one that is always going to get people sitting up a little bit more in their chairs. Here's the way this looks. Dan, maybe when you're doing the video for the people watching on YouTube, we can put this graphic up on the screen just so that we don't have to list through all of the teams. But 1 through 10 is this. Texas at 1, Penn State at 2, ahead of Ohio State at 3. I believe in the coaches poll that was reversed. Yeah. Ohio State got the nod.
Flopped, yeah.
Clemson's at 4, Georgia's at 5. Then my Notre Dame Fighting Irish, followed by your Oregon Fighting Ducks, 6 and 7. We've got Alabama 8, LSU 9, Miami at 10, Dan.
Yes.
We've got the full graphic in front of us. I won't go through and list off all 25 of the teams. Listing off teams in an audio format isn't always great. But as you look at this, I'm curious to get your reaction, your first reaction to it, and then maybe we can talk through who's too high, who's too low, things like that. Where are you where are your eyes drawn upon looking at this poll?
Between 11 and 20, Ty, are the rankings points that I'm exceedingly curious about because you obviously have questions about Arizona State without Cam Scatterbo. That's 11. That's fringe top 10. That's what my state school math says. Well, hold on now. You're going to make me read it. I'm going to have to read this anyway. No, okay. I was going to go through one by one. Okay.
11 is Arizona State, 12 is Illinois, 13 is South Carolina, Cocktober.com.
Played each other in a bowl, Illinois, South Carolina. Yeah.
That's right. 14 Michigan, 15 Florida, 16 SMU, 17 Kansas State, 18 Oklahoma, 19 Texas A&M, 20 Indiana. And what the hell, just because I made it this far, 21 Ole Miss, 22 Iowa State, 23 Texas Tech, 24 Tennessee, 25 Boise State. There are other teams in the others receiving votes category that I'm going to talk about here momentarily, but that is what it looks like at time of recording your top 25.
Right.
Now, please continue. You were saying the teens are tantalizing. I'm glad you said it, not me.
Didn't say it. I said that was where I was going to go in reference to rankings positions.
Arizona State at 11. We got Illinois at 12, South Carolina at 13. You're drawn to like that middle column of this graphic.
I'm drawn to the middle column, and there's the others receiving votes, and there's a whole bunch of wild cards there. Georgia Tech is in there. USC is in there. I like both of those teams a lot. Mizzou, obviously, I've talked about liking a whole bunch. Auburn, I'm in on this season. I think we're both in on JMU. Your Pitt Panthers did not receive enough votes to be in the top 25, but they're in there. Okay.
Incredible disrespect for the Pitt Panthers.
Incredible disrespect, who are on a sizable losing streak at time of this recording.
Where's my button?
Not talking about this.
Okay, continue.
The Oklahoma one is interesting. So they get to 10 wins a couple of years ago and have a catastrophic season last year, in large part because of injuries up front and at receiver, and make a bunch of changes. But them getting the benefit of the doubt and jumping into the top 20 is interesting to me. I'm in on Arizona State this year. I don't know that they're going to have quite the second half of they're not going to have quite the season that their second half of last year would indicate they would have, but I think they're good. We differ there a little bit. I'm not in on Illinois as a top 12 team in this moment. I think they're probably more in the 20 to 25 range of just
Agree.
like purely where I think they stand stacked up against the rest of the sport. Michigan, who knows? They have that top 15 potential if they get something out of the offense. SMU has a little bit too much new for me to feel good about them top 20 in this moment.
Yeah. I'm too high on SMU here. I think they're too high on SMU.
I like
for
SMU
sure.
more than you do, but that's an interesting number. Like there's a lot of benefit of the doubt going on in this top, 11 to 20 that I'm not fully sold on. Not sold. I mentioned Oklahoma. I like Kansas State. I'm not fully there on them as top 20 in this moment. And I mentioned the teams that I seem to like a little bit more when they rattle around in my brain that I just rattled off in the others receiving votes. I think Texas Tech has a terrific opportunity to springboard up. And I like Ole Miss, but I think that's a good way to slide them in at 21. So
right. Yeah, they should. If you're going to put Ole Miss in this poll, they deserve to be on the back end of this, just because there is a lot new.
Right.
And we talked through the questions that we have about their defense. I think South Carolina is too high on this list.
Yeah.
I understand why they're 13th completely. But one of the things that I think you find when you look in this, as we look at it, the middle column, where they're going 11 through 20, there are a lot of teams that I think are there based on potential.
Yeah.
Right. South Carolina is one of them. Michigan is another one of them. SMU, maybe another one of those teams. Maybe that's got more to do with past performance than it does what we project moving forward. Oklahoma, certainly one of those teams that falls into that category as well. I think all of those teams, I understand, again, why there is hype. South Carolina at 13, Oklahoma at 18. For me, I need to wait and see before I'm willing to go that high with both of them, frankly.
Yeah.
And SMU is another one. You kind of stole my thunder a little bit there, but I think for sure those are teams that I looked at and I was like, I think they deserve to be ranked. I just don't know how I feel about them being inside the top 20 right now. And I realize people are going to have a negative reaction to that, especially the Oklahoma and the South Carolina people. I don't have a problem with those teams, but there's a lot to me that remains unanswered right now. So I would be a little bit more cautious, let's put it that way, on those fronts. The teams that I look at and I say, wow, these teams are really too low. You know where I stand on Clemson. Clemson is 4. It's tough to go higher than 4. I think Clemson should be number 1.
By the way, coaches poll number 6.
Yeah. By default, Clemson to me is the obvious answer for who's too low, because I think Clemson should be number 1.
Okay.
So you know where I stand on that one. I think Alabama's too low at 8. I really like Alabama.
Okay.
This season. I would put Alabama ahead of Georgia. I'd put Alabama ahead of Notre Dame. I'd certainly put them ahead of Oregon. I might even be inclined to put them ahead of a Penn State or an Ohio State. I really feel good about Alabama this year. I get that this is a preseason poll. This is not obviously etched into stone or anything, but given what they have coming back, I mean, the quarterback position being what it is, Alabama's a team that I would go higher than 8. Texas A&M's the big one for me, though. And if you listen to any of the SEC stuff that we did, the parts 1, 2, and 3, most recently we talked about A&M in the part 3 episode that just dropped on the, I guess, Sunday for people listening to this on Tuesday.
Right.
I've got A&M as a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
I like what they've got coming back on defense. I like the ground assault that I think we're going to see on offense. I really like Marcel Reed. I think there's a lot of upward mobility for him.
Sure.
To have them all the way down at 19, to me, seems like a bit of disrespect.
Wow.
It really does. I don't understand the logic there with A&M. And they were low in the coaches poll as well. Now, counterpoint, you're all about 8-4 Texas A&M all the time.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to
who
show
the coaches.
fewer than 4
Right.
losses in a season. Yeah.
But I feel a little bit more confident about A&M than obviously the pollsters here.
They are also on a losing streak, to be clear. Losing to
Yes.
Auburn, Texas, and USC to conclude the 2024 campaign. So the momentum, obviously, factor is something here, right? That teams like Illinois and South Carolina and SMU are where they are, and A&M, even though you think they have upward mobility, which I happen to agree with, they blew a lead against USC. They had a weird
Sure.
loss to Auburn and did nothing on offense against Texas. So there's only so much benefit you can give a team like that when that's the last time you saw them. And every team has so much new, pretty much, because of transfers and the way this sport seems to operate. So, yeah, I mean, you mentioned a little bit the Clemson thing that you'd have them higher. That there's a little bit of disagreement there at the top. Georgia is number 4 in the coaches poll, number 5 in the AP. Notre Dame 5 and 6 in the coaches and AP respectively. Clemson 4 and 6 in the AP and coaches respectively. If by my count, 6 of the top 8 schools in this AP poll have full-time new starting quarterbacks.
Yes.
Full-time starting quarterbacks, right? Texas, Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama. So all that tells me is this is about to get scrambled pretty magnificently. And so I can't wait for that. So, yeah, these are great. Here's my follow-up, Ty. Generally speaking, where do you stand in 2025 on preseason polls?
I hate preseason polls.
Now you're back to this. You hated them, you were okay with them, and you're back to hating them. It's tougher now, obviously, with the amount of movement. But yeah.
I've always kind of hated them.
Yeah.
And I think I've grown to accept them over the years because, look, we do this full time.
Yeah.
And so for us, you see something like this drop, in our case, mere minutes before we hit the record button. It's content. It's something to talk about. People care about these polls. People love ranking anything.
Yes.
Let alone college football teams. So, of course, it's going to be newsworthy and discussion worthy, and people care what we think. Against all odds, they care what we think about these types of polls. But I've just seen it all too often where we see these preseason polls drop. It influences how people feel about a specific school. It ratchets up pressure in a way that probably is unwarranted in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
And it just tends to shape the narrative in a way that I don't always agree with. And so I hate that about these preseason polls. I do think it kind of factors in as we get a little bit closer to committee playoff rankings. And whether it's something that they will openly acknowledge or not, I just think like subconsciously they have these types of things in the backs of their minds. And so for me, I'd just assume do without it. You know, like, let's wait till we get a week or two into this thing before we start ranking teams, when we actually have a body of work to go on and we're not just basing it based on Ty and Dan's projections or how
Sure.
a team finished out last season in some cases. Great content. I think it's going to be scrambled very quickly and tossed in the waste bin before long.
To be clear, Arizona State, Indiana, and SMU unranked going into last season and made the college football playoff, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't think it has. I think people like to talk about it having a bearing, but I think when you actually look at things and how teams are ranked that start unranked, teams that are ranked get spoken of more often in August and early September. But as soon as the games happen, as soon as there are upsets, I don't know. I think things shift pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I always find it funny that, like, we'll do an episode about, like, hey, what's going on with Wisconsin? And there will be a random comment that, like, we just have one issue voters in this sport, in the way that people vote for politicians based on their stances on immigration or foreign policy or the economy. And the one issue will be like, yeah, the Wisconsin thing's interesting. What we really need to be talking about is getting rid of preseason polls. You're just like, okay. It's June 14th, ma'am, but thank you. I don't feel that strongly about them. In fact, I kind of love them. That's my zag here.
Well, I understand why you would say that. I've never been a fan of this. I've always
But isn't it sort of woven into the fabric of the sport that, like, if you are a casual fan interested in watching college football, you are immediately going to be more intrigued flipping to a game between numbers 11 and 19 rather than two unranked teams that you don't immediately have an indicator of quality. And so getting that number, that's just a unique thing to college football. Like, you don't tune in. Like, do they put when you're watching the Masters, do you know that Scotty Scheffler is immediately the best golfer in the world if you're not, like, closely following golf? No, you don't.
No.
You don't see that number one next to his name. And so I think it's a really valuable thing to generate interest for a limited run season, for a September, October, November season. I think it's really cool that you can tune in, like, look, maybe they're not the 9th best team in the country, but they're probably top 20. And so I enjoy that. Even if you want to disagree and you say, like, these rankings are based on nothing and they're propping up these teams based on brand value alone, and Notre Dame's always overrated to start the season. Rah, 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 rah. I don't know, man. That's the sport. That's what we're all signing up for.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand this world about as well as anybody at this point. And the longer you do this, the more you realize that half of the stuff that we talk about, most of this sport is engagement porn.
Right, of course.
That's what this is. This is about getting people talking. That has been the fabric of college football for as long as you and I have followed it. Maybe to some extent that's changed now that we've got a committee and a playoff, but we still find things to argue about, whether it's an 8-game conference schedule in the SEC or how the committee values one conference over another, which conferences should be in the market to expand, which shouldn't.
Sure.
Like, we can find a million things to argue about with college football, and this is just another one of those things that just happens to be early enough to get people revved up in time for the season. So I don't hate it from that perspective. I just hate that there is any possibility that it could shape how people view these teams down the road, because this is based mostly on nothing, right? This is based mostly on nothing, and there will be jobs that are lost as a result of it. There will clearly be a narrative that begins to take shape a little bit closer to the season with regards to who has pressure on them and who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to go up in smoke very quickly. And the fact that it's going to shape any of the like actual decisions that play into college football, to me, has always sent a bit of a shudder down my spine.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I don't know, man. You're signing up for it. You want to be a college football coach? This is what
I hate it.
This is what we get. I
don't want to be a coach. That's why I didn't sign up for that.
I know, but you're talking about coaches getting their jobs are on the line.
If I were a coach, I would hate this.
Sure.
I would absolutely hate this. And that's completely secondary to where you're ranked. Right. If you're Texas, if you're Penn State this year and you see that you're a preseason top 5 team, you already knew that going into the year. Your fan base already had those expectations going into the year. You don't need this to validate it.
So you're a big Tony Petitti auto bid guy then.
I hate the auto bid too. I hate it.
Settle it on the field. We shouldn't have rankings. We should have Iowa playing to get into the college football playoff around Thanksgiving as
That's
the number 6 team in the Big Ten. Well, it is and it isn't, right? You're taking the power away from those ranking teams.
I hate these polls, man. I hate these preseason polls with every fiber of my being. But I'll play nice with it because we need something to talk about.
Yeah. By the way, Google engagement porn, but just be ready. Be ready for what...
Man, I'm on a heater between this now and Cocktober on the last episode.
That's true. Apparently that's a Howard Stern thing, by the way, which
is it?
Of course. I'm sure.
I got some weird emails about that already.
Yeah? How did Mama H feel about it?
Did not talk to her about where's my
Not talking about this.
Fair enough. Okay.
Did not talk to her about that, thankfully, even though she listens to the show religiously.
Oh, I love these rankings. I love them.
I think Baylor, I think USC and Georgia Tech, both of whom you mentioned, and of course your Pitt Panthers, all are in the others receiving votes category, which is interesting to track. The other thing that I think we need to come back to, and maybe we can do this on the prediction show, but Tulane now with Jake Retzlaff is a more interesting conversation than it was 6 weeks ago when we started doing American previews.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. And Tulane, even though I think we assume Boise is still probably the best non-power school, Tulane may be in a different spot than they were when we talked through that last time. So I'm curious to see if your thinking has evolved at all. We can get into that on the Sunday episode where you do predictions. But
I like that you phrased it American previews as if there's a Canadian preview forthcoming.
American Conference Preview. They changed their name, by the way. It's not the AAC. It's
they don't want the acronym anymore?
They don't want it. No, they want to go strictly American.
Okay, fair enough.
Marketing and branding people. What are you going to do with them?
USC also outside the top 25 has an opportunity to springboard up. Yeah.
We had some interesting injuries or injury news around college football that I at least wanted to give voice to. This is by no means a complete list. This is just a list of players that I think, again, you and I saw and we sat up a little bit.
Yes.
The big one has been Garrett Nussmeier, actually.
Yes.
There were rumors that had circulated on message boards surrounding Nuss's injury. What's wrong with him? Is it an ACL? Is it something else? Patellar tendonitis. Patellar tendonitis seems to be the confirmed ailment via Brian Kelly. He did lead off some of his coaching remarks talking about this. It seems as if he'll be fine, but Garrett Nussmeier obviously has a lot riding on him this year. LSU's success depends on Garrett Nussmeier this season, so you don't want to hear about any kind of patellar tendonitis or really anything at all. Does not seem like it's going to be super serious, but we have to pay attention to this, yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
But if he is playing and nicked up and is affected with an unproven rushing attack, that there seems to be a lot on Garrett Nussmeier's plate in terms of how responsible he's going to be. Obviously, a quarterback is already immensely responsible for an offense, but if he is limited in some way, if he is favoring one side of his body and it leads to disappointing throws, there's a lot on the line here with Garrett Nussmeier's health. And they do have one of the better, if not like the best, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the sport. Built a little bit differently physically, and I'm going to say Martin Van Buren, and let's just stick with that, Michael Van Buren. So they're not in a terribly thin spot at quarterback, should this go in an unfortunate direction. But as we talked about on the SEC preview, Garrett Nussmeier's ceiling is New York. It's Heisman finalist or winner or something. Like, they're in a great spot offensively, provided Garrett Nussmeier's health is optimal. So something worth monitoring. I hope it all works out because they've got a big old opener to open the season at Clemson. Yeah,
Death Valley Invitational, the old DVI.
DVI, yep.
Dawson Pendergrass from Baylor, the backup running back, has a foot injury, done for the year.
Okay. Too bad.
Chris Brazzell from Tennessee was arrested after speeding and found to be driving on a suspended license. So who knows if there will be any kind of ramifications regarding that. This is a Tennessee wide receiver room, by the way, that we talked about, I guess, in part 3 of the SEC show, where Mike Matthews has been dinged up. I think Brazzell's been a little bit dinged up as well. A lot of new pieces. I think we're both expecting something of a step back, if only because there's just a bunch new at Tennessee, but clearly the wide receiver health is going to be a pretty big deal in a Josh Heupel system. Whether it's health, whether it's just eligibility in general, we'll have to see if there are any longer-term repercussions from this one, but worth noting on this show. Since we will be talking about Notre Dame, and maybe I can save this for the Notre Dame bit, but Kedron Young, one of their backup running backs who people were excited about.
Third string, fourth string, somewhere in there?
Yeah, third, fourth string. I mean,
okay.
I think that, well, we could talk about this as we get into Notre Dame a little bit later on. Clearly, the rushing attack is going to be paramount to the success of the project this year in 2025.
Yeah.
Anytime you lose a guy that you are excited about potentially stepping in and contributing in a big way to that, that's where Kedron Young falls here. So, bummer, but we'll see who else they've got that they can elevate in his stead. I've been following this Malik Washington injury news at Maryland.
Okay.
There hasn't really been a whole lot available publicly on Malik Washington, their big quarterback recruit. I believe he will start, provided
freshman,
he is
not
healthy.
a recruit anymore. Yes. Yes.
Formerly recruit, now a freshman, yes. I am curious to see what he looks like and if there are any kind of injury concerns as we get a little bit closer to the year. Again, I have not heard anything super definitive on that front.
Right.
And most of the updates I've seen have been encouraging, but just something to keep your eyes and ears open for, because Malik Washington could factor in as just an exciting prospect.
Agree.
This season for Maryland, and maybe he could alter the course of the Big Ten. And the only other thing that I wanted to call out, maybe you have other names, I don't know, but I did mention this guy when we did our Penn State preview, and just because of how we recorded it and because of just schedules
when
and
news
whatnot,
comes out, yeah,
totally whiffed, like full disclosure, on the news that Max Granville, the edge rusher on the Penn State side that I'm really excited about, yeah, he's done.
You gotta wait a little bit.
Long-term injury. When he comes back, when he arrives at full health, I think it'll be exciting to see what he can bring to bear, but does not look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. So that one's on me.
All right. Well, it takes a real man to fess up, Ty. Good for you.
Listen, it is what it is. We did
Yeah.
134 teams. We're going to do the last 2 today.
I am choosing not to be accountable for any of the minor or major errors that I made on any of the preview episodes. No, I'm sure I made a ton, and I apologize, not in advance, but I apologize after the fact if I screwed something up. I'm doing my best. For your consideration on any podcast player, search Solid Verbal, find us, and hit follow or subscribe. It's just that easy.
I do have one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about.
Please. Usually an ointment can take care of most of it, but continue.
Did you happen to see that ESPN acquired the rights to the RedZone brand?
I did see that. Well, it's part of the broader NFL deal that ESPN has entered
That's right.
into. Yeah.
So the NFL RedZone channel, I don't know if you've had a chance to check this out, but a pretty awesome way to stay plugged in on an NFL Sunday.
Wait, are you
what's
asking me
going
if
on.
I've checked out the NFL Red Zone 20 years into its existence?
Have you watched it? I don't
Yeah,
know.
of course.
I'm sure it's not a new concept for people who
You
are
guys see
listening
this
at
Netflix
home,
thing?
but
You're just like a Jay Leno. You guys see the Apple TV and Roku? You can stream things.
extremely popular, hosted by Scott Hansen.
Yeah.
The idea, as I'm sure everyone's aware of by now, you see every touchdown, every game. Great for people who play fantasy football, if that's your thing.
Sure.
So in our world here, the move made some waves because of something that Roger Goodell said. And he floated the idea of there being a college football Red Zone channel, which, again,
Which we've sort of had, to be clear.
We sort of had.
Yeah.
It caused a bunch of us in the college football ecosystem, whether it's Twitter or Blue Sky or MySpace, whatever you're into, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sat up a little bit more in the chair. So now listen, before people write me the email, I understand that there are some obstacles to this.
Yeah.
The NFL controls the rights to all of its games.
Yeah.
ESPN does not control the rights to all of college football. Some may believe that's the case, but
Yeah.
just as an example, ESPN, if it had a red zone for college football, could not show plays from the Big Ten because of broadcasting rights. Our
Right.
friend Andy Staples from On3 wrote a long piece on how it would require a literal act of Congress to make this actually a thing.
Sure.
I was glad that Andy wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
It prevents people from taking it seriously or too seriously,
Right.
which creates an opening, Dan, for you, for I, to get in
For
our
I.
official application now.
We're really messing up our me's and I's today. Continue.
I am formally throwing in my hat. I am formally throwing in our hat if you would like to join.
Okay. So this can't happen in the way that it should happen, yet you are enthusiastically volunteering the show.
I am making this central to my 2025 platform, Dan.
But how are we overcoming the obstacle of not being able to show all games?
Somebody else can figure that out. People with more money and better legal knowledge than you and I.
Okay, fair enough. Yes. Well, they tried, sort of, right? That they tried to come up with a streaming service, Venue. I think people were joking that it was called Venu, but I think it was pronounced Venue, which was like the agreement between the now defunct Warner Brothers Discovery and ESPN and Fox to sort of have a sports streaming service. So maybe it could have lived there as part of that agreement. I do not know enough about mergers and streaming businesses, but yeah, that's a tough ask. I don't know what our opening looks like, and you and I both know that should ESPN be able to figure out a college football red zone, I think we both know that the host would be like Pat McAfee's electrician. An intern for the Pat McAfee show is taking over. So
I have a 3-point plan for this.
Okay.
I have a 3-point plan.
Which is?
One, if you're starting a college football red zone, your like core constituency is the super online crowd and the sickos that care about all the games.
True.
In the year of our Lord 2025, that online culture is like the fabric of the whole experience on college football Saturdays.
355 of the craziest fans in America. Yeah.
So to paraphrase the wise prophet Bane,
Oh,
your other hosts would have to adopt that culture. We were born into it.
yeah, that's true.
And we've already sort of been doing this, haven't we? With watch-alongs over the last couple of years.
That's true.
Which have literally gotten hundreds of thousands of views. You can stop by, executives listening. You can stop by anytime you want. Just please hit the subscribe button if you want to watch. We haven't figured out yet when we're going to be doing
So you're
these,
saying
but
lean into like the more esoteric elements, right? That it's not just about teams about to score. It's about weird things happening when a punter absolutely rifles it off of the long snapper's head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. I am treating every watch along we do this year as a tryout.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
Oh, what's the third element?
This is only the first element.
Oh, only the first. Okay. The second one?
The second one is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and I'm biased, there is no other duo that can blend the serious with the stupidity
Okay.
of this damn sport. And if you don't believe me, unnamed executive listening to this, you can just ask your media personalities because they all listen to us,
That's
have
true.
either been on the show, have emailed the show, or have stolen bits from the show over the last 15 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is the God's honest truth, and you know it's true.
That's true. Some of them have even made their way to the Ty Hildenbrandt charity massage mobile. Yeah.
That's
Continue.
right. That's right. There are a lot of folks out there who take the sport very seriously.
Also true.
And then there are, others who are just in it for the madness. I think you and I are the best at combining both of those worlds, whether it's like EPA per play and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I still don't really know what that means.
I'm not positive. I'm not positive, but I'm getting close.
EPA per play, Ohio State represented by a giant nut.
Yeah.
There's a middle ground. We do a pretty good job
Agree?
blending those two. That's why people have been listening all these years. We can do this better than almost anybody.
Yeah.
Third point.
We're willing to wear diapers. Full stop.
I would, if that's what it takes to get a gig like this.
100%. Look, and we can partner with Deion Sanders, who is out front, man.
He's very out there. Yeah. This isn't even a joke. He's like all in.
If we could, I'll do whatever, man. That's great by
Here's
me.
the third thing.
Yeah.
Third thing. And this is going to be the most controversial.
I'm ready.
Okay. Unnamed executive listening at home.
Yeah.
Maybe watching on the YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't need a big media personality to carry this.
True.
People are not tuning in to see Matt Barry or whoever you pick. They're just not. That's not the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
The draw is the format.
Okay.
The focus should be on the games. Also, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but we're all friends here, right?
Sure.
I think we'd be cheaper, wouldn't we?
Definitely be cheaper. Very
Like,
affordable.
Matt Barry's going to want like a Hollywood star and a private jet to do something like this.
Yeah.
Just pay for my gas to get over to New York City, get Dan an exit row.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all you'd have to pay us something, but definitely not as much as like the Matt Barrys of the world. There's also the possibility that our wives would want to divorce us.
Also true.
Which, like, if you could get us a lawyer on speed dial, that might be helpful
Yeah.
if push came to shove. But I think we could build a real case, and I will continue building that case throughout all of our watch-alongs this year and all the content we do, that I want to be out in front of this. I saw other people throwing their hat in the ring. That's great. We're better. We just are. We'd be better at it.
I
Full
agree.
stop.
I agree. Ty wants to buy a lake house. Let's help him out.
I don't even care about the lake house. I just want to do this.
I know.
I think it'd be fun.
I think it'd be great.
I'd be better at it than pretty much everybody else out there who's throwing their name into the ring.
I think it'd be great.
We would be better. We would be better. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, are you limiting it at all, or are you doing full scope? Because there's a lot of games happening at once, much more so than on an NFL Sunday.
Listen,
there are two
I'm not
windows.
in charge of this. I'm not in charge of this.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
But you're pitching.
We could do it better. We could do it better.
Would you
if
stick
you want
to the
give
top
us a
25?
trial run,
Okay.
if you want to give us a trial run, solidverbal@gmail.com. If you want to put us on one of those like playoff altcasts, we could do the dark web altcast, whatever.
That's
whatever.
true.
If you want to use that as a proving ground, great. Reach out.
Man.
Or you could return our emails, which we've sent you. We'd love to try it out. I think we could do a good job with this.
I think we do great.
That's my diatribe.
It's going to Pat McAfee's electrician.
It's going to go to Pat McAfee's electrician.
Yeah, of course.
They got to somehow pay for all that.
Yes.
But yeah.
All right. I'm in. Can't wait.
Solidverbal@gmail.com, of course, is the email. Write in. Let us know your thoughts on this and any other.
Is there a
pressing college
hashtag?
football
Do people
issues.
still use hashtags that you want to
What's the-
employ about this?
SV RedZone? I don't know.
I don't
What do
know.
we go with? You have until the end of the show to come up with something creative.
Okay, fair enough.
This is going to be your task.
Okay.
We do have two teams left to preview. I have champagne upstairs, actually Prosecco upstairs.
Okay.
I am popping the cork I told Solid Wife Kate, we are popping the cork on the Prosecco after we get through these two teams because that means we've officially previewed all of them.
That's sparkling Italian white wine?
It's Italian.
Okay.
Yeah. Ty Hildenbrandt maybe has the Italian look, does not have the Italian last name. We've got some La Marca Prosecco upstairs, not a sponsor.
Okay. But the Mama H side, Italian.
That's right.
Okay.
Let's start with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Dan Rubenstein.
I'm ready.
Notre Dame, 14-2 last season. This year, their over-under per our friends in the desert is 10.5 wins. What is your reaction to seeing 10.5? How do you feel about that?
I feel fine about it. I mean,
would you go over?
It's a big number.
Would you go over?
Not confidently.
Yeah,
but
me neither.
Not confidently, but Notre Dame as a program right now with the way the sport is built, it's, I don't know what rhymes with 10. The drive to 6, like you just got to get to 10 wins. You're in the playoff. So ultimately that doesn't matter a ton right now. They don't have the same, dramatic need to win a conference to get a certain seeding or, They've got a brutal schedule with these 5 powers in their conference that are recruiting on an insane level. They've got tough games on this schedule. They bring back so much.
Yeah.
And there are so many known quantities outside of quarterback, which again, they're one of those 6 of top 8 teams that will have a new full-time starting quarterback, that if quarterback is plug and play competent or pretty good, they're going to win 10 games. So Notre Dame's going to be really good this year. They're going to be really good this year. I think they're going to improve upon certain aspects of what they needed to improve upon from last year, and that they have the seasoning and the proof of concept, and that Marcus Freeman can go into that locker room and say, I haven't been here that long, and I took you to the top of the mountain. We couldn't plant our flag, but we were there. And so what I am doing, who I am hiring, the culture I am instilling is championship culture. And you either get on board or you transfer to Nebraska or Tennessee or whatever, like the offensive linemen have done, that didn't seem like they were going to start. So that kind of advantage that only 5, 6, 7 type coaches have in this sport is, I think, immense.
I don't know if you're watching me right now, but as you're saying all this, I'm just nodding.
Great.
I'm nodding in silent approval because, Dan, you are stealing my thunder here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It means that I'm not off base because you can't do a Notre Dame preview without starting with that bigger picture view of this whole program at this point.
Yeah.
This is, and I was thinking about this before I came down here, like, this is far and away the strongest this program's ever been in my lifetime.
Whoa.
And possibly in like the modern era.
Yeah.
Truly. I mean, I know they haven't won the title yet, but they were played for it last year, and it feels like they are on the cusp of playing for it again, or at least being in that conversation year in and year out. The only way that you are building a sustainable winner in 2025 is if you've got alignment, the big A word.
Mm-hmm.
Your athletic director, your athletic administration, your overall university administration, and the coach. And they've got that. They've really got that. It feels like it's now more the case than ever at Notre Dame, especially under Freeman. He's built the culture that you speak of. Doesn't just make guys want to come to Notre Dame, but it makes them want to stay when they're there. I heard rumors about guys on this roster that we will talk through, who I will not mention, who were kind of straddling the line of like, should I go? Should I go get a paycheck? Should I go somewhere else? Should I get closer to home? So
Right.
They're still there. Okay. So this is a roster now. This is a program now that is recruiting itself. It is a roster that is deeper than ever as a result of it. And more to the point, like, Notre Dame had really bad injury luck last season. We saw it along both lines, some of it early, some of it in the playoffs. This was never a situation where they were just plugging in guys willy-nilly and they were changing the game plan.
Right. And
I think that that is an undersold part of what Marcus Freeman is doing right now. Because you see it across college football all the time. There's got to plug in a new lineman. We got to change the game plan. On offense, on defense, we got a new quarterback. We got to change the game plan. We got a new running back room. We got to change the game. He is doing the same thing regardless of who is in there. And we see that among the truly elite teams in college football, whether it's Georgia or Ohio State or Oregon, right? Like, you see this among the top teams where they just truly adopt the next man up mentality. And it is just plug and play with the next guy stepping in. They don't have to reboot the entire game plan in order to fit whatever new personnel they got going into the starting lineup.
Right.
Notre Dame has gotten them to this point now. Or Marcus Freeman, has got Notre Dame to this point now. And so as someone who's watched this team his entire life, I'm thrilled with where they are at right now. And it just feels to me like a program that continues to churn and continues to get stronger.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm excited about this time. This team this year.
Sure.
The point that I think a lot of people have missed, though, is how young Notre Dame was a year ago. And like, there obviously was a veteran presence that was leading the charge, be it Riley Leonard or Xavier Watts or Jack Kaiser, Riley Mills, Ben Morrison. Like, there were veterans, but there were also a lot of freshmen and sophomores that were playing. Their starting left tackle was a true freshman. Their best cornerback, their starting cornerback by year's end, Leonard Moore, my guy Leonard Moore.
Mm-hmm.
True freshman. You had sophomores up and down this roster that were playing huge roles in what we saw in getting them to the national championship. Both Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price were sophomores.
Yep.
So just a ton of underclassmen that were part of the thing last year. There's a ton back now coming into 2025. I think there's more back on defense than offense, but I think that stat might be a little bit skewed because of Riley Leonard leaving. But alas, there was definitely a big-time youth movement last year that I think we're going to see pay dividends now in 2025. That's part of why they're a top 5 team.
Okay, fair enough.
The problem, though, is the quarterback.
Yeah.
And it might be a bridge too far to call it a problem, because I think their problem is one that a lot of schools would pay to have, and that's 2 seemingly capable quarterbacks competing for the gig. But from our chair, as we were previewing these teams, CJ Carr, Kenny Minchey, we haven't seen a whole lot of either of those guys, if any of these guys, at the major college football level. So when you ask the question, what do you expect? What should we expect? It's a big old shrug. I know that Notre Dame people have been very excited about CJ Carr for a while, and I know that and I'm guilty of this too, I just sort of assumed, sight unseen, that it would be CJ Carr's job to lose. I still believe that that's the case, but from all indications, this is a legitimate quarterback race, Dan.
Yes.
It's not like they're just trying to appease Kenny Minchey to keep him around. They don't want him to transfer. They don't, like, it's neck and neck from everything that I've been told. And though there might still be a bit of an inclination to go with Carr because he was the bigger prize recruit of the two of them, still, I think it's an open question as to which one we're going to get. Different quarterbacks. CJ Carr, early comps for him were Mac Jones when he was being recruited out of high school, right? Accurate passer, mobile enough to move around in the pocket, but he's not a runner. Kenny Minchey, more of the athlete, right? You can do more with him. You can put him on the run.
Throws a nice ball, though.
Throws a nice ball. He's your guy.
Yeah.
You love Kenny Minchey.
I've liked him for a little bit.
Maybe not quite as big as CJ Carr, but definitely a different style athlete. So this is obviously going to be the biggest question. There's a lot around whoever you put at the quarterback position. You've got the ground game with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I got to believe the Notre Dame offense is going to flow through that ground assault. You've got the line up front. Notre Dame lost some guys via transfer along the line. There was a narrative out there in the preseason like, it's falling apart.
Wheels are coming off the offensive line. Yeah.
Those guys weren't going to play, dog. They weren't going to play. They weren't going to play.
Okay.
So the fact now that
they were
got
in
this
playing
line,
last year for injured dudes who are now healthy. Yeah.
The fact they've got this line in front of this running back room with, I think, this wide receiving core, which is better, still has some of its own questions, but led by Jaden Greathouse, you bring in some other transfers as well, Malachi Fields, Will Pauling. I think this is a receiver room that's going to be better at getting open down the field and hopefully stretching the field a little bit more vertically.
Yes.
But you look at this offense and you say there's a lot back. Who's playing quarterback? What does that quarterback look like? That's the big old shrug for Notre Dame this season on offense.
Yeah. I assume it's Jaden Greathouse is going to be the clear number one pass catching option.
I tend to think so. I mean, I like Jaden Greathouse. Jaden Greathouse clearly showed out down the stretch last season. He factors to be, I think, their number one target out wide. Malachi Fields was really productive at UVA before coming over. Will Pauling has been productive in his own right coming down from Wisconsin. To me, those are the three names, but they've got other guys that I think can factor into this thing as well. Jordan Faison is still there. Cam Williams, a young guy who maybe could step in and have more of a presence out wide. Eli Raritan, their tight end.
Is he on the level, do you think, of recent tight ends that can be safety valves?
Can be.
Okay.
I think he can be, absolutely. So there's plenty of options in terms of pass catchers. But I do think it's going to depend somewhat on the quarterback to see how they are utilized and to see, moreover, what that offense looks like as they try to get down the field, because this was a pickleball offense last year. There was a lot within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. If it wasn't open after one read, Riley Leonard would take off and run with it. That was the whole plan of attack in the national championship game.
Yeah.
So
until Steve Angeli came in against Penn State and showed what he can do for the beautiful Syracuse Orange.
Your questions on offense are who's playing quarterback, and who's ever playing quarterback, can they stretch the ball down the field?
Yep. I agree.
And it's pretty cut and dry on that front.
Yeah. I mean, the duo of Love and Price is as good a running back duo in the country, it seems.
Yep. I mean, it's either them or Penn State.
Offensive
it's like
line
1A and 1B.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of cases out there, but yes, they are in rarefied air. Offense should be fine, as you mentioned. Need to find a quarterback who has pop. And the only issue I see with finding that quarterback is if it is seen and it becomes clear to the offensive staff that Kenny Minchey is the guy. Like, he's got to be perfect, because he's going to have so much more pressure looking over his shoulder than Carr would looking over at Minchey.
Oh, we're going to end up seeing both quarterbacks.
Okay.
I mean, I think especially week one on the road against Miami, there will be positions, situations where the position could benefit from having a little bit more mobility, and you need the hard yards, and you can bring Kenny Minchey in to more effectively run something like a zone read. Like, I think we're going to see that. I think it's probably trending in that direction at this point.
I hate that for Notre Dame, by the way. Just
I don't
run
like
an
that
offense
either.
with one quarterback, but okay.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Unless it's a Belldozer type guy who is built to be that kind of battering ram, but neither one of these guys are.
I am increasingly of the belief that we're going to see both these guys.
Okay.
And it might just be like a package thing for a Minchey or even a Carr. I don't know who the starter is going to be.
Okay.
But to my surprise, and to the surprise of many people who I know personally who cover the team, this is a legitimate quarterback race.
Okay.
And we're going to have to wait to find out who gets the nod week one on the road against Miami. So that's the big thing with Notre Dame. Defensively, they're loaded.
Yep.
They're absolutely loaded. What stands out to you if you look at this team is the depth that they have at all three levels.
Yep.
And this is like Mike Mickens' opus on the back end.
So he's
of this
the
defense.
assistant defensive coordinator / secondaries coach. Yeah.
Secondaries coach. He's found a lot of great ones over the years. He found another great one in Leonard Moore, who was a true freshman last season, might be the best cornerback in college football this year.
Wow.
He's really good. It's Leonard Moore on one side, Christian Gray on the other. They brought over Devontae Smith, the other Devontae Smith from Alabama, who's going to be like a nickel corner. But whether you're talking about the cornerback positions or the depth that they've got at safety, it's just like a revolving door of guys that can step in and be productive.
And they added to that too. They brought in. They didn't bring a ton of transfers. But it's the other Devontae Smith from Alabama, who I think is going to play sort of safety nickel corner. Yeah,
nickel corner. Yeah. They figured to be really good at linebacker up front. They're again very deep along the defensive line. The one thing to watch: Jordan Botelho got hurt again.
Okay,
he was hurt at the end of throughout the course of last season, but tore his pec, figures to be out until like September, October. They get some help back with Boubacar Traore, who's I think factoring in to be one of their edge defenders. They need him to stay healthy. I'm excited to see my guy Bryce Young.
Yeah,
Bryce Young was a true freshman last year. He's a big kid, just different.
Is this Bryant Young's son?
Just built different.
Okay,
just built different. Dan. He's going to rotate in. He's going to play a pretty big role. I would like to see the pass rush get better this season. I'd like a little bit more production there. That makes this defense an absolute force. But they've got so much that they can work with up front. Again, more to the point I made earlier, the depth that they have built on defense especially is just astounding compared to where they were like 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's incredible.
It's Bryant Young's son, by the way.
Yeah, Bryant Young's son. So comes from good stock, obviously. Yeah. You see him out there. He's a big kid and he's different. The only real question I have, and it's not much of one, is you got a new defensive coordinator in Chris Ash.
Who, to be fair, was a scout for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Continue.
Al Golden went to the NFL. It's Chris Ash. I was very lukewarm on the hire. I've warmed up to it.
Okay.
Here's a picture of this guy. I mean, you've seen him, but sort of restoring the tradition of a Notre Dame defensive coordinator with a very strong hairline.
Oh, by the way,
it's not like Diaco territory yet.
Is Diaco coaching this year? That's your trivia question.
I don't know. Look at this hairline.
Did you just send it to me? Okay.
I just sent it to you right now.
Oh, he looks terrific. Bob Diaco, by the way, is Bill Belichick's defensive line coach. Continue.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. That's a great hairline.
I mean, if Chris Ash is holding his own point of attack like this, there's a school of thought he can carry that over to Notre Dame's front.
Yeah. That's a thing that a lot of the beat writers are talking about behind the scenes.
That's why we're different here, man. I mean, look at that thing. He's really holding on.
Hope it works out. I don't love the well-traveled nature of where he has coached these past few years, that they didn't hire the best possible, or they didn't go after an up-and-comer, or they didn't go after... Like, I understand Chris Ash has a history in the Midwest at Wisconsin and Ohio State and has called some really good defenses.
Yeah. Urban Meyer called it the hire of the offseason cycle.
Well, he's an Urban Meyer guy, so yes.
He's an Urban guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, it doesn't sound like Chris Ash is going to reinvent the wheel.
Right. I'm sure it's the like Notre Dame. He's running the Notre Dame defense. Yeah.
He's running the Notre Dame defense. It does sound like there are elements he wants to simplify so guys can play faster with more freedom, another thing that they all say.
Yep.
They're going to play a little more zone, a little bit more match coverage, which he's done at previous stops, which I don't hate. Gives them a little bit more variability. They were very man heavy a year ago. So this is a defense that probably could use a little bit of variation.
Yep.
He did answer a question when they asked him about what he wants to do. He didn't use the exact words, but he basically said that he's got concepts of a plan, which was okay, kind of maybe not the most reassuring way to answer it, but he basically likes what they did last year. He's going to try and find ways to evolve it, not reinvent it, which I don't hate.
Right.
This is a front-loaded schedule for the Irish. Their toughest games are out of the way by mid-October. If they can get through October the 18th, being relatively unscathed, this is a playoff team. The three big games on this schedule: week 1, on the road at Miami.
Yep.
Sunday nighter. Then after a bye, they come back home. They host Texas A&M. And then they've got USC a little bit later on down the road. That's that October 18th game that is at home as well. Yes. Those are the three big ones. On the road at Arkansas could be interesting. That's another one of those games. That's on September the 27th, the monster college football weekend in week 5. They've got Boise State on here as well, which will be interesting to see how Boise stacks up. Potential landmines. But otherwise, I'm looking at the schedule and I'm saying the only other game that I'm really sort of concerned about, November the 15th on the road against Pitt.
Your Pitt Panthers. Yeah.
But by and large, Dan, this is a schedule that sets up well. There is not a murderer's row on here.
Right.
With this roster, the floor should be 10-2. Should be 10-2. Should be no worse than 10-2 with this roster, even with some of the quarterback questions that we discussed.
Yeah, I think that's right. Should also note the USC schedule when they get Notre Dame is after USC travels to Illinois on playing them on September 27th. They get a bye week, and then it's Michigan at home, immediately followed by a road trip to Notre Dame. It's a tough stretch for USC, the team that seemed to give, in the back half of the regular season, Notre Dame the most trouble. And so it seems Notre Dame, the Irish, do not have USC in the midst of anything as dramatic. It's after NC State. It's before Boston College. All due respect to those teams. USC is sandwiched in something a little bit trickier when they meet. So, man, the A&M game is going to be tough. The Miami game is going to be tough, especially since Miami's week 1, and you're likely going to need to score 30 points or in that vicinity to beat the Canes with how much firepower they seem to have.
Yep. So
that'll be a fascinating week 1. Not any sort of controversial statement that game is going to be great. But it's very difficult to find more than 2 losses on this schedule if Notre Dame is good.
I've got them at 11-1.
Okay. Likeliest loss being
Texas A&M.
Okay.
I've got them at 11-1. I think they win week 1 on the road against Miami. I'm going to stand by that. I think they're better than Miami. I think they're a better roster than Miami.
Okay.
So that's a win to open things up.
But it's in South Beach. It's not South Beach.
It's in South Beach.
It's not South Beach. It's in Miami. It's in Coral Gables. Yeah.
But coming back home then on week 3 after the bye,
mm-hmm.
A&M's a different animal. And that's going to be a very physical game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's one of those games that's like 17-16 somebody wins.
Yeah. Like the sort of Georgia games, the Georgia Notre Dame games from before. Yep.
Very much that style of game. There's going to be such a thin margin for error. And with 2 quarterbacks in that case, Marcel Reed and whoever Notre Dame ends up trotting out there, 2 quarterbacks who I can only assume need to improve some of their downfield passing. We saw it with Marcel Reed. I think there's going to be a thin margin for error, and that's going to be a game that's won or lost on a couple key plays that go one way or the other.
Yeah.
But that's the loss. I think Notre Dame beats USC. I think Notre Dame's better than USC.
Okay.
And I think that game later in the year at Pitt could be dicey because I do believe in the Pitt Panthers. But 11-1 for me, Notre Dame gets in the playoff.
Okay. And if you were a coach, how would you, what type of team should Notre Dame worry the most about? And I guess the answer is probably just like a team more talented at most positions than Notre Dame, because that's who beat them in the national championship game. Yeah.
It's a team with a really, really good defensive front, which is part of why I look at that A&M game and I'm a little bit fearful.
Okay.
A really stout defensive front is what I'm a little bit worried about. Miami could fit that bill. USC, you can make a case that they fit that bill as well.
They're better there than they were. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, this is not to demean any of those teams because I think they're all fine in their own right. But that A&M game, to me, I think A&M can take away, to some extent, Notre Dame's ground attack.
Yeah.
And if you're putting Notre Dame in a position where they have to suddenly throw the ball, they have to work the ball down the field, that's when I think things could break, if only because we don't know at this point what Notre Dame has at quarterback.
Yeah.
That's the kind of game that frightens me a little bit.
And to Notre Dame fans listening, if you could help them out, what's this whole AI thing about? What's going on with all these young people? And
I'm not talking about this.
All right, fair enough.
We've got one team left. We saved number 136, the best for last.
That's true.
Let's talk about mine, America's UConn Huskies, Dan.
Okay.
9-4 a year ago. You're over under 7.5 this year. Jim Mora has done a really good job. That's why he got a contract extension through 2028.
Definitely.
They beat North Carolina, I want to say, in the bowl game last year.
Yep.
It's a pretty exciting situation for these guys. Like, they've got a 7th-year quarterback now.
Yep.
The pride and joy of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which I inadvertently demeaned, I guess, a year ago on a show. We got hate mail for that one.
It's okay.
Joe Fagnano is the quarterback. Very good last season. 20 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This is going to be an offense led by a ground assault. They've got a very, very good running back room. Cam Edwards, Mel Brown, they've got transfers that they're stacking in there as well. But you factor in what they can do on the ground with what I think they can do through the air, which has a legit NFL prospect in Skylar Bell out wide. I think this will be a very, very interesting team to chart moving forward. Also, that doesn't even mention Alex Honig, who is number 39 maybe on Bruce's Freaks list.
Okay.
The tight end, originally from Germany, originally a quarterback, originally at TCU, now at UConn playing tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be pretty stout on offense. And defensively, this is a secondary that should be pretty good. Got some questions about what they can do up front. Not as much back on defense as there is on offense. But I think you look at this team this year, You look at what they've done now under Jim Mora. I think you look at the quarterback who's been around the block forever, 7th-year guy. There's a lot to like here. There's a lot to be entertained about with respect to UConn, especially with the schedule, Dan, which is something that you found.
They get, well, so they were competitive with the ACC teams they played last year. They get, I believe, this year, both Duke and Boston College a week after each of those teams plays Clemson.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they're doing in terms of winning those games. But if your starting point is experience, confidence, solid coaching, and they lost a good amount in the portal, quality guys in the portal, but still return a lot of guys or enough guys that you can build around, and bringing in potentially quality dudes from smaller schools to sort of enter into a newly winning culture. You can jump on somebody with that combination, with that formula. And so UConn is interesting. They should be, if this keeps carrying through, a perennial bowl team, which is kind of crazy to say given some of the recent lows of UConn. But it's a great, I don't know what act number this is for Jim Mora, second, third, fourth act. He's clearly a quality coach. Like, this is a very difficult job, especially if you discover and develop somebody at UConn, it's probably not staying at UConn terribly long. It's just too valuable in the modern college football universe. And he's actually been like very forthright and has said a lot of interesting things, very human things about how like he doesn't hold it against his players when they look around. It's just the sport, and it's the coach's job to sort of be honest with them and to put them in a position to succeed and hopefully help them live out their football dreams. So UConn's a quality situation right now. They were very good on defense last year, but they lost a lot of those contributors. And his defensive coordinator hire was very good last year. I think they were great at generating 3 and outs. They were great on third down specifically. And so it's just going to be an annual thing for UConn to sort of to recruit William and Mary, to recruit Georgetown, right? That they're just going to have to go after guys at smaller schools or well-traveled guys who've been at 3 schools in 3 years and figure that their culture and their system will work better for those guys looking for a home. So I think it's a great story of what's happening in UConn. They just need to jump up and win one of those games against an ACC type team. Because there's a lot of wins on this schedule to me.
There are a couple games on this schedule that are, I think, bigger picture interesting for people who might be listening at home and have no other interest in UConn football. There's a game early, week 2, on the road at Syracuse, which I think could be a very competitive matchup.
Oh, yeah.
It was competitive.
It's another
last
situational
year.
spot, right?
Yeah, because Syracuse opens up the year that neutral siter against Tennessee. And then they come back home. They're squaring off against UConn, which I think will be hungry to prove itself. This was a competitive game a year ago. And especially as we're looking at UConn, a team that I think can run the ball, a team that at least can guard against the pass. I don't know about their defensive front. You could see a situation in which that is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So that's one. I look at Boston College. I look at a home matchup against Duke in November. Those are games that are very important for this UConn school.
Agree.
I'm just curious to see what ends up in a game like that. Like, even they're on the road against Taquan Roberson, used to be their quarterback, against Buffalo, your Buffalo Bulls.
Of course.
At the end of September, another big game on September the 27th. Maybe not the headliner, far from it.
Speak for yourself.
These are really important games for UConn school that I think feels like it's got a pretty high ceiling this year. I don't know what that means in context in college football. They're one of just 2 independents at this point. I got to believe, based on a lot of what we have seen over the last 2 years or so, UConn wants to jump up. They want to get into the Big 12. They want to get into the ACC. They're upping up their NIL spend. They're trying to double it each year, or at least improve upon it year in and year out. They are actively in conversations about what they can do with the stadium, maybe to expand it all the way up to 60,000 people. This is a program that seems to want to do more with that football side. Clearly, UConn's been a basketball school forever.
Yeah.
They're very successful in their own right there. But one of the more intriguing stories to follow moving forward. Like,
totally agree.
They want to keep Mora around. They are having conversations, maybe with the Big 12, maybe with the ACC.
There were Pac-12 conversations before as like a football-only situation. Yeah.
Like they're very much dipping their toes in that water.
Yep.
And they want to see what they can get. So the over-under is 7.5. I remember being down on UConn last year, and UConn won 9 games. I look at the schedule. I kind of feel similarly to last year, where it's like, I don't see it. I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over because I believe in Jim Mora and I believe in the broader UConn project.
Oh, the broader UConn project.
The broader UConn project.
And remember, if nothing else, there's always a basketball coach on campus who at some point will eat somebody's face off. And we can all
put him on the defensive line,
we can all live in suspense.
Lower center of gravity, but
yeah,
definitely has that type of fight that you want from your defensive line.
Sure. Yeah.
Danny Hurley.
They've got the wild card and Danny Hurley on campus. Yeah.
That does it.
Yeah.
136 teams down.
Mm-hmm.
We covered some of the news. Executive, Mr. Unnamed Executive, solidverbal@gmail.com if you're interested in our services.
Or Mrs. Executive, yeah.
Or Mrs., excuse me. What is the hashtag that you've decided on?
Oh, I don't think it's good enough. I don't know. I was trying to come up with something college football that rhymes with red for like red or something solid verbal that rhymes with red for RedZone, but college football. And I didn't get anywhere. So I'm not there yet. I don't know.
All right.
I'm disappointed.
People can write in solidverbal@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on that as well. Or hit us up on social media. I guess that's where the hashtags live anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to throw a few our way, we will take them under advisement.
Yes.
Okay. Again, here is the drill. We've got an episode that drops on Thursday, a now unnamed episode that drops on Thursday. Dan and I are still working that one up. We've got a couple fun ideas for the Verballerhood.
Yes.
On Sunday, there will be a prediction special. We would encourage you to go on out to verballers.com, VERBALLERS.com. Sign up for any tier. I'm going to pose a question out there. I want you to respond in the comments with your just one. You get one. If you put more than one, you're going to get disqualified.
Okay.
I'm going to delete all your messages. One prediction that you can put in that comment thread, and or 855-VERBAL-3. That's the reverb line. It's open for business starting now. You got a few days to call in and leave a voice message, a voice prediction. I will cut up a special preseason Reverbs edition. We will play it on the Sunday episode with your predictions.
Can't wait.
That drops this coming Sunday, okay?
Writing it down.
Beautiful. On that note, thank you, kind Verballerhood. Hit follow, hit subscribe, tell your friends. A lot more is coming. The season is coming. So get excited.
Yes.
Dan and me are, whatever the grammar says we are. We're both excited for that guy over there, Dan, for myself, Ty. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you all soon. Stay solid.
Peace.